Hello everybody, I'm Richard Gon of Work to Live podcast version. So this time, what I'm going to talk about is programming skill necessary? So whether programming skill is needed or not, which is a topic of this episode. And so at first, let me tell you the conclusion of this episode. So the answer is yes, it is to some extent, but there are, of course, there are other skills useful, more useful and more helpful for you. So I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to tell you the topic again. So topic, but the title is programming skill necessary or is programming skill needed or not? Which is the title or which is the mainstream topic of this episode. And the conclusion is, or the answer is yes, it is to some extent, but there are other skills more useful or more helpful for you. So I'm going to tell you the reason. Sure. I don't know whether I should tell you the reason because So if you do not have programming skill, or if you do not have any knowledge, or if you do not have any fraction about the knowledge of programming or programming language, you are going to have trouble because So when working or when, for example, when you if you want to ask some programmers to create some web pages or to create some articles or so to if you please imagine the situation where you ask some engineers of programming to create, for example, websites or blogs or other types of web pages. So if you do not have any fraction, or if you do not have any knowledge about programming skill or programming languages, so you cannot imagine the situations, or you cannot imagine how 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 the works of programmers are going to be proceeded. Which is why in such a case ask you cannot ask those engineers of programming well or decently, which is why you may get, or you may possibly get, or I think in most cases you are going to get some troubles in, for example, in in communications between yourself or yourselves and the engineers of programming and other cases. And so if there are some confirmations necessary to check, for example, please imagine a situation like some engineers of programming ask you whether so how should they design these web pages or these articles of your blog, for example. If please imagine such a situation that you get some questions about the about the concepts, for example, the concepts or the designs of, or the external designs of blogs or websites or web pages you want to create. Please imagine such a situation. And if you understand, or if you have some knowledges, or if you have some, if you know some degree of programming languages, for example, so you can communicate well. But actually, if you do not have such kind of things, like for example, which means if you do if if you have if you have no knowledge about coding skills or programming languages, so you cannot imagine the situations of the engineers of programming, and you cannot and it is going to be extremely difficult for you to imagine the situations of those workers who are engineers of programming or programming engineers. And so in some cases you may get extra charges, or you may get a lot you may get high prices of estimates for the works, or for the works done by engineers. So such things happen if you have no knowledge about programming skills, or coding skills or programming languages. So which is why you need to study things about programming and coding skills or programming languages. So this is the answer to the, this is the reason, or these are the reasons of my answer why programming skill is necessary. So and in my case I have, so from now on I'm going to tell you the reason why I added to some extent to the answer. So I said yes it is to some extent, but so I said programming skill is necessary, but I don't think you need to become a I don't think you need to become a professional programmer, or I don't think you need to become an expert of programming. Well, I don't think you need it, I don't think it is necessary that you become a genius of programming, because so in this time programming is really popular in some developed countries, but actually not but actually, which means there are many programmers. There are many programmers, and there are many people who know things about programming skills and coding skills and programming languages. So thinking about such a thing. So of course there are demand. Of course there are huge amount of demands of programming stuff, or and there are huge amount of demands, craving programmers or or engineers of programming. But actually, so thinking about which, so if you decide to become an engineer of programmer, so I think it is fine. I think it is fine. But actually, so please think about the situation that you have to compete other people, and there are many competitors. There are many competitors in the market of programmers, for example. So you have to take some work, so you have to get some tasks. You have to get some tasks of needing the works of programmers. So so in if you'd like to get some tasks, or if you'd like to get some works or orders, paying you a lot of money, or as in the forms of wages, or in the forms of paychecks. So such tasks and such well paying works, or such well paying orders are going to, for example, geniuses of programming, or such high paying works go to such high paying works go to experienced engineers of programming. Which is why if you become a beginner, or if you become a novice of programmers, for example, so you have to compete those experienced people. So which is why it's really, I don't recommend I don't recommend you are doing such a fighting taking place in red ocean situation. So so why you need, so which is why I told you the reason why you need programming skill. So which is because so if you do not have any programming knowledge, it is true that you are going to have trouble in communications between yourselves and engineers of programming. But actually, so which doesn't mean that you need to become an expert of programming, or which doesn't mean, so the reason I have told you minutes before does not mean you need a professional skill of coding skills. So what I told you, so of course there are, what I'd like you to know in this time is that there are other skills, or other skills, or other qualifications more helpful and more useful for you. So typical examples are physicians or medical doctors, and lawyers like attorneys, prosecutors, and judges. So these are remarkable skills. So these are the people having having remarkable skills, which are more helpful, or which are more useful than programming skills. And of course, if you ask me, accounting skills. So accounting skill can be helpful, but in this present time, so some countries process accounting stuff by online, or by programming, which is why it is said, some people say that the demands of accounting may decrease, which is what some people say. Some people say that the demands for accounting, some people say that the demands for accountants, some people say that the demands for accountants may decrease, or may drop in the future, which is what is often taught in some places. So, like I said, of course, there are more helpful. There are some skills which are more helpful than programming skills. So, for example, of course, if you are smart enough to become a medical doctor, so I recommend you becoming a medical doctor, because medical doctors, or physicians, get higher paychecks, or higher wages than other people with other occupations than medical doctors, or physicians. So for example, if you can become a surgeon, so I recommend you becoming a surgeon. So, and if you can become for example, judge or attorney, and if you think you can become, you can create a lot of money by becoming an attorney, I recommend you becoming an attorney than becoming a programming engineer. Like which, so as I told you, well, let me come back to the original topic, or let me go back to the original topic, or original title of this episode. So at first I asked whether programming skill is necessary or not. So the answer is yes, but to some extent. So to some extent means, so to some extent is, for example, so when you for example, if please imagine that you became an attorney, and you would like to create a web page or website for your own office as an attorney. So when you hire some engineers, so if you have some knowledge about programming skills or coding skills, you can come to understand what kind of things are done by the engineers of programming. So which is why, so what I'm telling you is that you need some knowledge about programming or coding skills, because communication become fluent between yourselves and the engineers of programming. So in other words, so if you can become an attorney, what you have to concentrate is the works as an attorney. So not the creation of web pages for your for the offices you create as an attorney, which is what I'd like you to know this time. So let me come back to the original title of this episode. So is programming skill necessary? So the answer is yes, to some extent. So to which extent is necessary is, so to the extent to which, so you can communicate with programming engineers fluently, or without any remarkable trouble. So if you can proceed the communication, so, and if you can proceed the works with engineers of programmers, with engineers of programming, without any remarkable troubles in terms of communications, that is enough. That is a sufficient level of programming knowledge for you. So, and if you want to become a professional programmer, you have to study a lot for becoming a professional programmer. you have to study coding skills and programming skill to become a professional of a to become a professional programmer. But actually, if you do not become a professional programmer, you do not have to study coding or programming so much. Which is what I'd like you to know this time. So that's it. Thank you very much for your listening. See you.